By far, the most common question that I get is, how much money do you need to retire? In this video, I'm going to be answering this question and much more, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome to another video from One Up Financial. I am your host, Eric Persagna, CPA and Certified Financial Planner, here to help you increase your income, reduce taxes, and invest smarter in retirement. So, how much money do you actually need to retire?
$1 million.
I've honestly heard answers that range anywhere from $500,000 all the way up to $10 million. And to be honest, when I answer that question, when someone asks me how much money do I need to retire, I have a very simple response. And that is, you're asking the wrong question. Well, maybe not the wrong question per se, but you're asking it kind of out of sequence. And that's because in order to determine how much money you need to retire, you have to actually spend some time defining what retirement means to you. I kind of equate it to packing for a vacation without having any idea of exactly where you're going. And to be honest, a lot of people have spent most of their life, most of their career working for and saving towards retirement, that they haven't spent enough time thinking about what they're working and or saving for. So it's a very common thing that I see a lot of. And in this video, I want to give you a 4-step process that will help you get a little bit closer to what your number might be in retirement.
That's easy!
Now, before I go any further, I just want to say that this is not financial advice. This is not investment advice. So wanted to just get that disclaimer out of the way before I begin. Let's start with number 1. So the first step is you want to identify what your needs spend looks like in a given year. And really all I mean by that is to determine what exactly you spend in a given year. And that's not easy for a lot of people because most, at least in my experience, underestimate what all goes out of their account in a given year. And that's kind of to be expected. I'm definitely guilty of that myself. And it's to be expected because there are so many things that we spend money on. And if we're not tracking it, it's easy to forget about the insurance policy that we continue to pay premiums on, but we forgot about, or the random Starbucks binge, or how much our federal and our real estate taxes are. So there's a lot of things that kind of go into a budget and what ultimately goes out of our accounts. So an easy way to kind of get a little bit closer to what this number is simply just to log on to your online banking account or your credit card account, wherever you're kind of spending your money, and downloading or analyzing 3 months worth of activity and kind of focusing on those months that are more normalized in nature, nothing that has an unusually high or an unusually low spend month, something that's more, I guess, average, if you will. So what you want to do is, let's say, pull 3 months worth of statements. If you can, some accounts, some online portals allow you just to export that data directly into Excel, making it easier to sort and total. But what you want to do is take 3 months worth of activity, add all of that spend up, and divide by 3 in this example in order to get an average monthly spend. Then what you want to do is annualize that by taking that average monthly spend and multiplying it by 12 in order to get your average annualized spend in a given year. In this example, I want to kind of follow through this hypothetical scenario with this couple. So we'll assume that we have a married couple that is pretty much nearing retirement, and their total needs spend, what goes out of their accounts in a given year, amounts to $80,000.
Well, what are you going to do with all that money?
Our next step, what we want to do after identifying our needs spend, is to think about what our want spend might look like. And this is actually kind of like the fun part of determining what your number might be in retirement, because it forces you to kind of think about how you want to spend your time in retirement or at the point when work becomes optional. So do you want to go on vacation 3 months out of the year? spend some time down in Florida, or buy a condo, or buy a new car every 5 years. Think about the things that you've always wanted to do and things that you want to spend your time on in retirement, and just start to write those down in a journal or on a piece of paper, and then assign cost to each one of those things. And I would say be as conservative as possible. The last thing you want to do is underestimate on a cost and then in retirement realize that you don't have enough money to spend on that Disney trip, for example. So kind of go through the wants spend and the things that you want to do with your time and your money in retirement, and determine what that might look like on an annualized basis. In this example, we'll assume that this couple has a spend totaling $30,000 a year.
How did you spend it all?
Goes quite quickly. You know, you learn to spend what's in your pocket.
Step 3. After we have our needs and our wants spent, now what we want to do is assess our alternative streams of income. Now, for this purpose, we're going to exclude income from investments like an IRA or a 401k or a brokerage account, which we'll get to a little bit later. For now, we just want to focus on those guaranteed sources of income that often come when someone retires. And those can be anything from a pension, if you're lucky enough to still get a pension. That can be Social Security, which is pretty common. That can also be an annuity or rental income if you own some investment real estate. What this doesn't include is the quote-unquote consulting income that you plan to earn in retirement, because that's really not guaranteed, right? Pensions, Social Security, that's guaranteed income. But that vegan coffee shop, bookstore idea, business thing that you had always planned to do, that's all but guaranteed, right? There's no guarantee that that is even going to work out, let alone generate positive cash flow. So for now, we just want to focus on those guaranteed streams of income. And to continue along in this example, we'll assume that this couple is going to be receiving $50,000 of Social Security income at full retirement age.
This is the key. Behind it are monthly payments that will be waiting for you when you retire after 65.
Last step. So step 4, what we want to do now is a gap analysis using a safe withdrawal rate. So all I mean by that is we want to take the difference between our total spend, that is our needs, and our wants spend, and we want to take the difference between that and our alternative streams of income. So in this example, we have a total of $110,000 in wants and needs spend, and we have $50,000 in income, in Social Security income. So if you take the difference of that, we have a gap that we have to fill of $60,000. Now, a man by the name of William Bengen years ago created what's called the 4% rule. And what that is, basically it states that investors are able to safely take 4% of their portfolio every single year without having to worry about running out of money. Now, the problem with the 4% rule, though, is that it was established back in the early 90s. And as we know, a lot of things have changed since then. Market returns, interest rates, inflation, so on and so forth. In addition to that, the 4% rule doesn't necessarily take into account large, unexpected costs that often do arise in retirement. And lastly, that 4% rule assumes a very moderate risk profile. So an investment strategy that's 50 to 60% in stocks and the rest in bonds. And as we all know, not everyone invests that way. So for those reasons, I don't necessarily always like to use a 4% safe withdrawal rate. And in being a little bit more conservative, I want to take that down to a 3% withdrawal rate. So what we want to do now is take our gap of $60,000, which is the difference between our total spend and our income of Social Security, and we want to divide that by our safe withdrawal rate of 3%. So if we take $60,000 and divide by 3%, we get a $2 million portfolio at retirement. $2 million that you ultimately need in this hypothetical scenario to retire.
Excuse me? A baking powder?
Now, there are a myriad of factors that I did not talk about that I think are actually very important to consider when planning for retirement. things like income taxes and risk tolerance and asset allocation. Charitable intent. Do you want to give money away during retirement and do so in the most tax efficient way? Legacy planning, small business ownership. The list, honestly, I could probably talk for another 30 minutes on all of the things that are important to consider when constructing a retirement plan. But really all those things come down to is pretty much that which makes each of us kind of individual and unique. It's not as simple as going online and typing in a few numbers in a retirement calculator, coming up with a number, and then coasting off into the sunset. That retirement calculator knows absolutely nothing specific about you and what you want to do in retirement. So it's important to think about those things as much as you do about the number side, the investments and risk tolerance and asset allocation. And lastly, I just want to say that when you do get your number, whatever that number is, it's likely going to change next year and the year after and the year after that. And the reason for that is simple, and that's because the only other constant in life, other than death and taxes, is change. How about you? Do you know what your number is for retirement? If not, please feel free to reach out to me personally or share your comments below. Thanks as always for watching our videos. If you're interested in staying up to date with our market and financial commentary, please subscribe to our blog at oneupfinancial.com/blog or follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.